Hi scholars, I'm so glad that you joined me for today's art lesson. On Monday, we learned all about this man right here. His name is Robert Indiana. Can we say the name Robert Indiana on the count of 3? Ready? 1, 2, 3. Robert Indiana. Good job, scholars. So on Monday, we learned about Robert Indiana. We learned that he was born in 1928 and he was from the United States. So he was an American artist. He made paintings and he made sculptures. He passed away when he was 91 years old, but that's a-okay because he had such a long and happy and creative life. And don't forget, Mr. Indiana kept making artworks basically all his life. He never, ever stopped being creative and making stuff. So scholars, today we're going to talk a little bit more about Robert Indiana, but I really want to take a look at his sculptures. On Monday we talked a lot about his paintings. Today I want to talk about his sculptures and how you can make sculptures at home. Okay everyone? So let's go ahead and get started. So scholars, we know that this is the very famous love sculpture that Robert Indiana made a long time ago. He made this sculpture like 50 years ago. So it's a very old sculpture, but people still love it. So this is the love sculpture. We can see it says love. It's got the L, O, V, and E. And when you put all those letters together, it spells the word love. So this is his love sculpture. It's in Philadelphia. So if you ever take a trip to Philadelphia, you can check this out. You can take a picture of it, you can stand next to it, and you can see how big it is. It is such a tall and big sculpture, you guys. I mean, it is like 10 of me, Miss Quiñones, like put together. It is huge. So scholars, now let's learn what a sculpture is. Maybe some of us haven't ever seen a sculpture before. Maybe we've never seen big artwork like this. Okay, so let's learn what's a sculpture. So scholars, a sculpture is a piece of art that is not flat. I'm gonna say that one more time. A sculpture is a piece of art that is not flat. Can we repeat after me now? Ready? Repeat after me. A sculpture is a piece of art that is not flat. Good job, scholars. We can even say it is not flat so that we can remind ourselves that whenever we see a sculpture, it's not going to be flat on a piece of paper and it's not going to be flat against a wall. It's going to be 3D. And that means that they're usually pretty big or they're like right in front of us and we can touch them. Okay, scholars? So let's talk a little bit about what a sculpture is and how we can make it. So this is Robert Indiana's sculpture. It's made of something called aluminum. Aluminum is pretty tough. It's like what cans and tin foil is made out of, except aluminum is like the tougher version. So it's really hard to bend it, and you have to use machines to bend it. So it takes a really long time. You have to be really strong. But these other pieces of art, these are also sculptures. So even though these two are not that big, they are still 3D pieces of art because they're not flat. So since these are not flat, they're still sculptures, even though they're small. Okay, families? So here we can see this lion. This lion is like made of clay. And if you ever played with clay, it doesn't lay flat like a piece of paper. It's kind of like a big mountain, and it's mushy, and you can move it around so that you can get whatever you want, okay? Then pieces of paper. So this tree is actually just made of regular paper, like white paper that you get in your packets or that you see at home and at school. So this tree is a sculpture. It's a small tree, it's not that big, but it's made of paper. And instead of just laying the paper flat, this person decided to like crumple it up and twist it and kind of squish it together so that they could turn it into this big 3D tree. Okay, scholars, so you can see that it's paper because it's actually painted. So what they decided to do is they got all their paper, they twisted and turned it into a tree, and then afterwards they decided to paint it just so that it would be more colorful and more artistic. Okay, scholars, so let's look at some of the other things that you can find in your house that will help you make sculptures. So sculptures can be made of almost anything, scholars. Anything that you can find in your house that's easy to move and squish and kind of mix up can be used to make sculptures. So here we see some cardboard. So like this giraffe sculpture is made of like boxes, like those brown boxes that you get whenever you order something. This giraffe is made of those boxes. It's made of cardboard. This lion that we see here, this lion is also made of paper. So just like the tree was made of paper, this lion is made of paper. And what they did is they cut all the paper around to get the lion's mane, to get the lion's hair. And they also used like cardboard and some other tough paper to get the body and to get the head of the lion. So you can mix some things up too. So if you need like flimsy paper and tough paper, that's okay to mix those things to get your sculpture. Down here you can see this little boy. He's also working on a very cool sculpture. This sculpture is not an animal, but it's like kind of like a really cool design. This is made of something called pipe cleaners. Pipe cleaners, it's like this little wire and it's wrapped up in all this colorful furry stuff. And so what he did is he took all these pipe cleaners, he started twisting them and turning them all the way until he got what he wanted, which is really cool. This elephant up here is made of tin foil. So tin foil is like that stuff that your parents put over dinner. So like let's pretend that your parents cooked dinner and there's a bunch left over. And so what you do is you take the tin foil and you put it over the dinner and then you put it in the fridge. Well, that silver tin foil stuff, that's what they made the elephant out of. Isn't that so cool? So you, again, scholars, you can use almost anything to make a sculpture. And this person was super creative because they went to their kitchen, they pulled out the tin foil, and they smushed it all the way until they got their elephant, which is just so cool. Scholars, these are some other things that you can use to make sculptures. So don't worry, if you don't have paper, if you don't have tin foil, there's some other things that you can use. So if you look up here, this is a sculpture and it's made of cans. You can see this is like fruit cans and tuna cans. They're just empty recycled can, scholars. And this person took those cans, they picked them up and they put them down and they decided to make a drum set out of it. So that one's really cool. I really like this one. You can also make a really fun design sculpture out of popsicle sticks. So let's pretend that you have popsicles at your house or you just have popsicle sticks laying around. You can glue them together, you can color them, you can do whatever you need to make a cool popsicle stick sculpture. You can also use Play-Doh. So if you guys have Play-Doh at your house or you have some sort of clay, you can use that to make a sculpture because remember, sculptures are not flat. So Play-Doh will work for your sculpture. Again, scholars, you can use paper. This tree here is made out of paper bags. So if you've ever seen like the brown paper bags, they give them at lunchtime here. They give them out usually when you pick something up or when you take something home. Those paper bags, you can squish them up, you can color on them, you can cut them, and this person did all of that to get their pretty tree. This is our last sculpture that we're gonna look at. It's made from bottles. So if you've ever seen bottles like water bottles or soda bottles or something like that, this person took all those bottles and then they put the bottle inside a plant holder. They put it inside a pot, okay? And then they glued it and they decorated them and they turned them into bottle plants, which is just so cool. I think that's such a cool idea too. All right, scholars, so let's talk about what you're gonna do today and how you're gonna turn it in, okay? So today, I want you to answer just one question. If you could make any sculpture, what would you use to make it? So scholars, we looked at lots of different things that you can use. We looked at paper, we looked at cardboard, we looked at Play-Doh, we looked at tin foil, we looked at bottles and cans, all sorts of stuff, right? If you could make a sculpture, which one would you choose? Would you choose paper? Would you choose cans? Would you choose bottles, tin foil? Okay, remember you can rewind the video and you can look and or hit pause whenever you rewind. You can look at all the things that you can use to make a sculpture, okay? When you're all the way done and you know what you would use, then you can say, if I could make a sculpture, I would use blank, okay? So just tell me, which one would you want to use to make a sculpture? Okay, scholars, remember if you are in first grade or Miss Jensen's class, you can use Flipgrid. If you are one of our kindergarten friends, you can use Class Dojo like normal. Or scholars in first grade, you can use Google Classroom and you can use the comments on this one, okay? This is our first grade Flipgrid code. The code will also be in an orange picture on your Google Classroom, okay, scholars? So don't forget, you're just gonna tell me what would you use to make a sculpture if you were making one, all right? Don't forget, rewind the video if you need to take a look at any of the things that we saw today. Okay, scholars, I'm looking forward to seeing what you picked. Bye.